Hi everyone, my name is Kat, or the Fairy Librarian, and welcome to a new video. Today I wanted to talk about some books that I'm really excited about. This is not anticipated releases, this is just books that I'm excited to read. It's sort of seasonal TBR, you can see it as, but the odds of me actually reading most of these books is small. I'll probably read some of them, but this is more. I'm currently thinking about them. If I would make this list tomorrow, it would look slightly different. But I don't want to share it anyway. So I have 20 books, I think, on this list. And so let's get started. First, I have The Bone Shard Daughter by Andrea Stewart. This is an adult fantasy, and in this world, there is bone shard magic. So the emperor, if he has a bone shard, then he can control the person who the shard belongs to. And so every one of the inhabitants has to give a bone shard to the emperor so that in case of emergency, he can use them to protect the country or whatever. And we follow the daughter of this emperor, Lynn, and she has no memories. And so she has to try and find her memories back. And I believe there's some other perspective as well, but she's the main perspective. I've heard good things. I've heard it's a bit genre bendy, so there's some sci-fi elements in it as well, I think. And there are currently 2 books out, and a third and final book in a trilogy comes out later this year, so what better time to get started than now? The second book is a non-fiction, and that is Queer Euripides, Rereadings in Greek Tragedy by Sarah Olsen. This is an academic non-fiction where they're just going to discuss some queer undertones in the tragedies of Euripides, and I am very curious to read this one. I'm excited. Next up, Poison Study by Maria V. Snyder. This is a YA fantasy, also just sort of a trilogy, about a girl who lives in a country where magic is illegal, and she's in prison because she has magic, and so she's sentenced to death, but she gets the opportunity to save her life if she becomes the she has to taste everything that the king or some powerful individual, I don't remember who exactly, eats to make sure there's no poison in it. So the odds of her dying soon are high, but at least she's not sentenced to death and she has her relative freedom as long as she does these things. So she says yes, and we follow her story. I've heard some good things. The cover gave me some dark academia vibes. So I'm curious to see what it's gonna be. Next up, I have We Hunt the Flame by Hafsa Faisal. This is a Middle Eastern inspired YA fantasy duology about, there's 2 perspectives. There is a girl who is the hunter, so she pretends that she's a man, and she helps her community. And then there's the son of the Sultan, and both of them have to go on a quest to find the same thing, and you can see where it's going. There's probably going to be some romance between them. It's going to be angsty. It's gonna be great. And it's only 2 books, so yay for the duologies. Next up, Daughters of Sparta by Claire Haywood, which is a Greek myth retelling about Helena and Clytemnestra. So I don't know what more synopsis you would need to go from their childhood to their adult life, and I've heard some really good things. I actually put this on here. The only reason it is on this list right now is because I watched a video this morning where someone talked about it and they really liked it. So yeah, I'm excited. I haven't read a lot of myth retellings because I always want to, but then they're marketed to like for the fans of the Song of Achilles, and I didn't exactly like that book. So it always makes me a little bit nervous. But I'm now reading Pandora as I'm filming this, and I'm really enjoying it, and it has me excited again about myth retellings. So I want to read Daughters of Sparta. Next up, I have Shelter Mountain by Robin Carr. This is the second book in the Virgin River series, which is a series of women's fiction-y contemporary stories. I've read the first book in January and I really enjoyed it. Was really pleasantly surprised. So I want to continue on. I know nothing about who this book is about, the plot of this book, but it's a companion series, and I really like the first one, so I think I'll like this one as well. Next up, I have The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. I haven't read anything in the Cosmere yet. I've read Skyward and Starsight, but that's it. So I'm really excited, and the Stormlight Archive is praised all over BookTube. I'm really looking forward to it. I don't even know what the plot is. It's epic fantasy. A lot of people like it. So I want to try and go in as blind as I can. Next up, I have Dalby. I hope I said it correctly. 6 Year in the Arctic Tundra by Laura Galloway. This is a memoir about a woman who has lived in the Arctic tundra for 6 years, and she tells what that was like. And I think there's gonna be challenges, but it's also gonna be calming in a way. I feel like just tundra life. I don't know. Maybe I'm romanticizing it too much, but I'm really excited to see. Next up, I have Six Crimson Cranes by Elizabeth Lim, which is a fairy tale retelling. Let me read the synopsis because I can't explain it very well. Shioriama, the only princess of Kyoto, has a secret. Forbidden magic runs in her veins, and on the morning of a betrayal ceremony, Shiori loses control. At first, her mistake seems a stroke of luck, forestalling the wedding she never wanted, but it also catches the attention of Reikama, her stepmother. A sorceress in her own right, Reikama banishes the young princess, turning her brothers into cranes and warning Shiori that she must speak of it to no one. With every word that escapes her lips, one of her brothers will die. Penniless, voiceless, and alone, Shiori reaches for her brothers and uncovers a dark conspiracy to seize the throne. Only Shiori can set the kingdom to rights, but to do so, she must place her trust in a paper bird, a mercurial dragon, and the very boy she fought so hard not to marry. and she must embrace the magic she's been taught all her life to contain, no matter what it costs. I'm really excited about it. I also love the cover of it. It's so pretty. So yeah, I'm so excited about this one. This is the one I own. I don't own most books that I read. I don't own a ton of books. This one I do. It sounds so good. I'm excited, and I think it's also a duology. I'm not positive on that. But yeah. Next up, I have Spellwright by Blake Charlton. This is an adult fantasy trilogy about a mage, and he was destined for great things if it weren't for one tiny little obstacle. Because the magic system is very language based, and our mage has dyslexia, and so he's looked down upon for it because of difficulty with spelling and stuff. And so one day, one of the most powerful wizards on Earth dies because of a spelling error, and people are soon to draw conclusions, and our main character has to try to prove his innocence and gets wrapped up in things. And I don't know, it sounds so fun, just like the wizard with dyslexia, and that's why magic goes wrong sometimes. I love that concept. The author has dyslexia too. So if you've ever been looking for that representation in adult fantasy, Spellwright. Next up, I have The Psychology of Time Travel by Kate Mascarenhas. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. It is about some group of women who invented time travel in the 60s. Sort of really pioneers. And then we have a future timeline with a murder mystery. So in the future, or the second timeline, I should say, their time travel has become a normal thing. And so the main character of that timeline receives an article from the future about a murder that for her hasn't happened yet, but will still happen. And I don't know, it sounds intriguing. And it sounds really fun. So yeah. Next up, I have The Light Fantastic by Terry Pratchett, which is the second Discworld book. I liked but didn't love the first Discworld. But I've heard that the first two aren't the best. That like the first one is the least good, and then the second one is also not the best, and then it's get better from there. So yeah, I want to see, because I still really liked the first one, for that being the least good one out of all of them. That is very promising. I laughed out loud a couple of times, and it's also the least funny one apparently, so those moments will only become more numerous, which I am extremely excited for. So I would like to continue on my Discworld journey, and I like to go in publication order. So the next one is The Light Fantastic. Next up, I have Unseelie by Evelis Hausman. I am so freaking excited about this one. It sounds so good. So there is a rogue and a changeling, and they're twins. And they get caught up in a heist gone wrong, and then I have to deal with the consequences of that. And the best part, one of them has autism. Listen, I we need more autism represented. It makes me so happy. I'm so happy about the autism part because we don't get that enough. And I have autism, so it's really nice to see that in my sci-fi fantasy. Um, so yeah, I'm excited. It came out recently too. It's the first book in a duology, and I think it came out in January of this year, so it's really hasn't been out for long. But yeah, I want to read it. I'm thrilled. It sounds so good. Next up, I have Kidnap on the California Comet, which is the second book in the Adventures on Trains series by MJ Leonard and Sam Sedgman. I read the first book last year, and it was just so much fun. And it's like murder mysteries on trains. It's just fun, and I want to continue on with the series because it was very cute, and I really enjoyed it. So that one's getting read as well. Then I have Fullmetal Alchemist by Hiromu Arakawa, which is a manga series. It's very well known. I've read a lot of comics in my life, but I'm really new to manga. I've read Liar Game, and that's about it. So I just want to read the big ones. Right, because Liar Game was just, I went to the library, and my criterion was the first one I see where the first volume is present. And that's how I got to that one. But yeah, now I wanna try like the big ones, like Fullmetal Alchemist, Death Note, One Piece, those, and starting with Fullmetal Alchemist. Next up, I have The House at Silvermore by Tracy Reese. This is also like a women's fiction-y historical fiction with some romance and some mystery, and it sounds like a good time. Um, Sometimes it's no more than that. So yeah. Next up, I have Stoneblind by Natalie Haynes, which is another Greek myth retelling, this time about Medusa. I have seen Natalie Haynes talk once before, but I haven't read anything by her, so I'll be curious to see if I like her books. um, so yeah, and as I said, I'm on my Greek myth kick since, oh, well, still, because I'm still reading Pandora, but it's making me excited again, so I want to read Stoneblind as well. Next up, I have Daughter of the Forest by Juliette Merlier. This is also the first book in a trilogy, I believe. And I've heard great things. I heard it's like dark fairy tale type something, with great atmosphere. And that's all I need to know. I think it's adult fantasy. I don't think it's YA, I think it's adult. Yeah, I think it's adult. Um, so yeah, I'm very, very excited about it. Um, okay, the final two, we're almost done. I have Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston. Middle grade magic school. I love it. And I've heard such amazing things about this book and also the sequel. So I want to see what the hype is and where I fall. And I'm definitely looking for some really good middle grade series to get obsessed by. So I hope that Amari is gonna be that. And then last but absolutely not least is Before We Were Yours by Lisa Wingate. This was Goodreads Choice Award winner for historical fiction some year. I heard about it from She Geeks Out, I think it was. We have this whole group of booktubers who read all the Goodreads winners from the past 10 years, each of them in their own category. Whoever did historical fiction, that's where I heard from it, and it sounds amazing. It's about children who have been being taken away by their parents, I believe, and then what happens to them, and it's based on things that really happened. I mean, the people, the characters that are fictional, but the whole thing of children being taken away did really happen in this time period. So I think it'll be hard to read and more emotional than, more on the emotional side. But I am so excited about it. So those are the 20 books that I'm looking forward to reading in the next 3 months or so, or just I'm excited about in general. If you've read any of these, feel free to hype them up in the comments. And I will see you again in a later video. Bye.